The bar was dark, filled with smoke and strange music from an alien instrument. Different species sat at broken tables, their voices low, their eyes empty. The air smelled of oil, rust, and cheap drink. At the far corner, a man sat alone. His clothes were torn, his face tired, his hands shaking. This man was human, but not like the others. He looked broken. His eyes were red, his lips dry, and his body leaned heavy against the table. In front of him stood a glass empty. The bartender, a tall alien with skin like stone, waited without speaking. The man's voice cracked. "One more drink," he begged, "please. Just one more." The bartender frowned. No credits left. No drink. The man's head dropped. He had nothing, no money, no strength, no honor. Then slowly, his hand pointed to the floor beside him. Two small figures stood there, silent. They were children, but not human. Their skin glowed faint blue like the light of a dying star. Their eyes were large, bright as twin moons, and they clung to each other, afraid. They wore simple clothes, torn and dirty, their faces pale with hunger. The man spoke again, his voice bitter. "Take them. My daughters." One drink for both. The bar went silent. Conversation stopped. All eyes turned toward him. Whispers rose. His daughters? Alien daughters? He is giving them away? Unthinkable. But the man did not care. His hand hit the table. "A drink, or take them and leave me to die." At another table sat a soldier. A human soldier, tall and broad, his armor scratched from battles, his eyes sharp but tired. He had seen war, death, and cruelty. But this was something worse. He leaned forward, watching in disbelief. Two young lives traded like objects for a drink. The bartender shook his head. Not mine to take, but already someone else moved. A shadowy figure from the back of the bar. Thin, tall, with a mask over its face. Its eyes glowed red. It stepped closer, slow and silent. The soldier's hand moved to his weapon. His heart beat faster. Something inside him screamed, "Do not let this happen." The two girls looked up. Their eyes met his. For a moment the noise of the bar faded. He felt something deep. Their eyes were not empty. They were filled with fear, with hope, with silent cries for help. The soldier stood. His boots hit the floor hard. The crowd turned to look at him. He walked across the room, step by step, until he stood before the broken man and the two girls. "What are you doing?" the soldier asked. His voice was strong, steady. The man laughed weakly. "What does it look like?" "I have nothing." "Nothing left." "Let me drink. They are not yours." The soldier looked down at the children. Their small hands held each other so tightly their knuckles were white. He crouched, meeting their eyes. "Do you want to go with him?" he asked softly. The girls shook their heads, quick and frightened. The soldier stood again, his jaw tight. "Then they stay with me." The man slammed his hand against the table. "They are mine! My blood!" The soldier's eyes were cold now. "You lost that right the moment you tried to trade them for poison," the shadowy figure hissed from the corner. "Careful, human. Not your concern." The soldier turned his head, his hand on his weapon. "It is now." The bar grew tense. The crowd whispered again, but no one stepped in. The broken man dropped his face into his hands, shaking with silent sobs. He did not fight. He did not rise. He simply gave up. The soldier reached out his hand. One of the girls hesitated, then slowly placed her small glowing hand into his. The other followed, clutching his arm. Warmth spread through him. A promise formed in his heart. They will not be left alone. Not tonight. Not ever. The soldier pulled his cloak around them. "You are safe now." The crowd watched in silence as he led them toward the door. Some looked away in shame, others in fear. But the shadowy figure did not move. Its red eyes followed. As the door opened, cold night air rushed in. The soldier stepped out, the girls pressed close against him. Behind him, the bar's noise slowly returned. The broken man lifted his glass, finally filled, and drank. But the shadowy figure whispered in the dark. "They are not safe. Not from me." And with that, the game had begun. The night was cold, the streets empty. Rusted signs flickered weak light, and strange machines hummed in the distance. The soldier walked fast, his long cloak covering the two small girls who clung to him. Their glowing skin lit faintly under the cloth like hidden stars. He said nothing. His eyes kept scanning the shadows. He could still feel it, the red gaze from the bar. Someone was watching. Someone dangerous. The girls were silent, their steps small and unsure. One of them whispered, "Where are we going?" Her voice was soft, almost musical, but filled with fear. The soldier lowered his head to answer, calm but firm. Somewhere safe. Safe. He had said the word many times in his life, but never truly believed it. Not during wars, not during battles, not in a universe full of greed and monsters. Yet tonight, as he looked down at their frightened faces, he wanted to make it true. They reached an old metal building. The soldier pushed open the heavy door and guided them inside. The room was empty except for a small bed, a table, and his weapons hanging on the wall. It was not much, but it was his shelter. The girls stood in the center of the room holding each other's hands. Their wide eyes explored the place. "You can sit," he said gently, pointing to the bed. They moved slowly, like small animals afraid of being trapped. They sat together, knees touching, shoulders pressed close. The soldier poured water into 2 cups and handed them over. The girls grabbed them fast, drinking as if they had not tasted water in days. He watched quietly. Finally, he spoke. "What are your names?" The older girl looked at him carefully, then whispered, "Lyra." She pointed to her sister. "And this is Nira, Lyra and Nira." Names that felt strange, yet soft on his tongue. "My name is Rylan," he told them. "But you can call me Guardian if you wish." The younger one, Nira, tilted her head. Her bright eyes blinked. "Guardian?" He nodded once. "Because I will protect you now." For the first time, their lips curved into small smiles. Fragile, uncertain smiles, but real. Rylan felt something inside him shift. He had fought for kings, for armies, for flags. He had killed for orders he did not believe in. But now he had something worth living for. 2 small lives that had chosen him. But peace was short. Outside, a soft sound broke the silence. A scrape of metal. A whisper of feet on gravel. Rylan's hand moved to his weapon. His voice dropped low. "Stay here. Do not move." He stepped toward the door, muscles tense. He opened it fast, weapon raised. The street was empty, or so it seemed. Then from the corner he saw it, the red glow of 2 eyes. The shadowy figure from the bar stood still, half hidden in the dark. Its voice was sharp, metallic. "Those children are not yours, human." Rylan's grip tightened. "They are mine now." The figure tilted its head. "You do not understand what they are. They are rare. Valuable, people will kill for them. Give them to me and you may live." Rylan stepped forward, his voice hard. "If you want them, come and take them." The figure hissed but did not move. Instead, it raised a long finger, pointing at him. "You will regret this. The hunt begins tonight." Then it melted back into the shadows, gone like smoke. Rylan closed the door and locked it. His heart was steady, but his mind raced. The girls were more than he thought. He did not know why, but many eyes were already on them. He turned to see Lyra and Nira watching him. They had heard. Their small bodies trembled. He walked back, crouched, and placed his hand on their shoulders. "Do not be afraid. No one will take you. Not while I breathe." Their glowing eyes filled with tears. Nira whispered, "Promise?" Rylan did not hesitate. "Promise." That night he sat awake by the door, weapon in hand. The girls slept together, holding each other tight. He listened to every sound. The hum of machines, the distant wind, the echo of footsteps that may or may not have been real. Hours passed. The danger outside never entered. But Rylan knew it was not over. This was only the beginning. As dawn light touched the window, he looked at the 2 sleeping figures. Their faces were calm now, soft and peaceful. For the first time in years, he felt a reason to fight again. Not for a war, not for money, but for them. He whispered to himself a vow only the walls could hear. "They are mine to protect. Whatever comes, I will not fail them." But far away in the silent dark of space, a signal had already been sent. Hunters were moving. Ships were being prepared. The soldier did not know it yet, but soon the galaxy itself would come for the daughters he had sworn to guard. The city woke slowly with the sound of engines, vendors shouting, and machines grinding in the distance. But inside the small shelter, time felt different. Rylan had not slept. His back leaned against the wall, his weapon still resting across his lap. The 2 sisters stirred awake on the bed. Their glowing eyes blinked at the morning light cutting through the dusty window. For a moment they looked like any other children, stretching, yawning, rubbing their eyes. But they were not ordinary. Rylan had seen it in the bar. Their faint glow, the strange energy that clung to them like a hidden fire, He did not understand what they were. Only that they were in danger. Hungry? He asked, his voice softer than usual. Both nodded. He gave them pieces of dry bread and water from his pack. They ate quietly, sitting close together. Rylan watched them, trying to think. Who were they? Why would anyone hunt two little girls? After a while, Lyra, the older one, looked up at him. Her voice was small but steady. You should not stay with us, Rylan frowned. Why? Because danger follows us, she said. Always, people want us. Her words were too heavy for a child. Rylan felt anger rise in him. That is not your fault. You are not the danger. They are. Nira, the younger sister, touched his hand suddenly. Her small fingers were warm. But you are different. You do not look at us like the others do. Rylan stared at her, surprised. And how do the others look at you? Like a prize, she whispered. Like gold, the air grew still. Rylan understood now. These children were special, rare, maybe even powerful. And that made them targets. Before he could speak, something strange happened. The walls began to hum. A faint blue light spread from the girls' hands. Symbols, glowing and shifting, appeared in the air around them. Unknown letters spinning like fireflies, filling the room with soft light. Rylan froze. What is this? The sisters looked frightened too. Lyra grabbed her sister's hand, trying to stop it. But the glow grew brighter. Please, Lyra cried. We don't mean to. Suddenly, boom. The light burst outward. A wave of energy rushed through the room, shaking the metal walls, throwing dust from the ceiling. The table cracked in half, his weapon fell to the floor, and outside alarms began to ring. Then it stopped. The light faded. The symbols vanished. The sisters sat on the bed, breathing hard, their eyes wet with fear. Rylan's chest heaved as he stood, scanning the room. Everything smelled of burnt metal. He looked at them, his voice low but firm. What was that? The girls said nothing. They only clung to each other, trembling. But outside, voices rose, shouts, the sound of boots hitting the ground. Rylan moved fast, grabbing his weapon, peering through the window. Soldiers, not like him, mercenaries. Armor painted with strange marks, helmets with red lights. They were moving through the street, scanning the buildings. They felt it, Rylan muttered. They felt the power. He turned to the sisters. We have to move now. The girls stood quickly, frightened but trusting him. He pulled his cloak around them, covering their glow, and opened the back door. They slipped into the narrow alleys. The city was alive now. Markets opening, traders calling, machines floating overhead. But hidden within the crowd, mercenaries searched. Their scanners hummed, seeking the strange energy that had exploded minutes before. Rylan led the girls through winding paths, keeping low, always watching. At one corner, he paused. A mercenary passed by, helmet glowing red. Rylan pressed the girls against the wall, holding them close, his hand steady on his weapon. The mercenary stopped, turning his head. The scanner on his wrist beeped once. Rylan's heart raced. Then, just as the soldier stepped closer, Nira's eyes glowed. The scanner beeped louder. No. Rylan hissed. He pulled them back fast, firing one sharp shot into the air. The mercenary dropped instantly, smoke rising from his armor. The crowd screamed. Panic spread. People ran in all directions, and now the hunters knew. Shouts rose behind them. They are here! Find the children. Rylan lifted both sisters, carrying them as he ran through the chaos. Bullets hit walls, sparks flying, machines crashing down. The girls cried out, holding tightly to his neck. Finally, they reached a broken transport station, empty and abandoned. Rylan ducked inside, setting the girls down. He caught his breath, his voice hard but calm. Listen to me. You must tell me the truth. What are you? Why are they after you? Lyra shook her head, tears running. We don't know everything. Only what our father told us. Rylan's jaw tightened at the word father. What did he tell you? That we are different, Lyra said. That inside us is something old, something powerful. We don't understand it, but they do. That is why they come. Rylan stared at them. Pieces of the puzzle began to fit. These children were not only rare, they were something greater, keys to a secret people would kill for. Nira whispered softly. Guardian, will you still protect us? Even if it means the hunters never stop. Rylan looked at them both, their glowing eyes filled with fear and hope. He placed his hand on each of their shoulders. Yes, he said firmly. Even if the whole galaxy comes for you, I will not let you go. The girls leaned against him, comforted by his words. But outside, more mercenaries gathered, their voices growing louder, their scanners locking onto the transport station. The hunt was no longer in whispers. It had begun in full. The old transport station was silent, filled with shadows and broken machines. Ryland stood near the doorway, weapon raised, eyes sharp. Lyra and Nira hid behind him, their small hands clutching his cloak. Outside, the sound of boots echoed. Mercenaries were spreading through the streets, their scanners glowing red in the dark. Voices carried on the wind, "Find them! Do not let the children escape." Ryland's jaw tightened. He knew they had only minutes before the hunters stormed the building. He turned to the sisters. His voice was calm but firm. "Listen to me. You must do exactly as I say, no matter what." Lyra nodded quickly, holding Nira close. Their glowing eyes were wide with fear but also trust. Ryland crouched, scanning the floor. A broken service hatch lay half buried under dust and wires. He pulled it open, revealing a dark tunnel that led deeper into the city. "Go," he whispered. "Stay low. Keep moving. I'll follow." The girls hesitated, but Ryland pushed gently. "Now." They slid into the tunnel, their faint glow lighting the darkness below. Ryland closed the hatch halfway, then turned back toward the door. The mercenaries had arrived. The first one kicked the door open, weapon raised. But Ryland was faster. A single shot, clean, sharp, dropped the man instantly. Sparks burst from his armor as his body hit the ground. Shouts rose outside. More boots rushed forward. Ryland fired again, moving fast, his body a shield between the doorway and the hatch. Bullets tore through the walls, sparks flying, metal screaming, but he stood firm. "Go," he shouted into the tunnel. "Keep moving." Lyra's voice echoed faintly. "Guardian!" Ryland fired once more, hitting another mercenary, then ducked as grenades rolled across the floor. He grabbed one, throwing it back outside. The explosion shook the building, smoke pouring in. He slid down into the hatch, pulling it shut above him. Darkness swallowed them. Only the faint blue glow of the sisters' skin lit the tunnel. Their faces were pale, frightened, but relieved to see him alive. "Stay close," Ryland said, his voice low. "Do not stop." They moved through the tunnels, their steps echoing softly. Rats scurried through pipes, water dripped from the ceiling, and every sound felt louder in the silence. But the hunters were not far. Above them, scanners buzzed. Voices shouted orders. Explosions rocked the ground. The mercenaries were searching, following the trail. At one point, Ryland stopped, lifting a hand. The girls froze. Up ahead, a beam of red light swept across the tunnel. One of the scanners had reached underground. Ryland grabbed the girls, pulling them against the wall. They pressed into the shadows, holding their breath. The red beam lingered, then moved on. The girls trembled. Ryland whispered, "Quiet, almost clear." They moved again, faster now. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber filled with broken machines and old transport cars. It smelled of rust and fuel. "This way," Ryland said, pointing to an old maintenance ladder. The girls climbed first, their small hands moving carefully. Ryland followed, covering them from below. They emerged into another street, this one quieter, far from the market chaos. For a moment it seemed safe. But then, bzzzt, a scanner locked onto them. Mercenaries poured out from the alleys, weapons raised. "There," one shouted. "The children!" Ryland pushed the girls behind him. "Run when I say." He raised his weapon, firing quick bursts. The first two mercenaries fell. The others returned fire, bullets sparking against walls and tearing holes into stone. "Now," Ryland barked. The girls ran, their glowing skin flashing under the cloak. Ryland covered them, moving like a shadow, his shots precise and deadly. But the mercenaries kept coming. From rooftops more appeared, their rifles glowing red. From the street, heavy walkers stomped forward, metal legs shaking the ground. Ryland cursed under his breath. They were surrounded. Then it happened. Lyra screamed, her fear breaking loose. Blue light burst from her hands, flying across the street like lightning. The ground cracked. Machines sparked. Mercenaries stumbled back, screaming as their scanners fried. Nira's eyes glowed brighter, her small hands rising. A shockwave rippled outward, throwing attackers into walls. For a moment, the street was theirs. Ryland looked at them in shock. The sisters had not only power, they had weapons inside them, but the girls collapsed to their knees, weak and trembling. Their powers burned too much energy. Ryland grabbed them both, lifting them into his arms. "Hold on. We're not done yet." He pushed through the wreckage, running into the shadows of the lower streets. The mercenaries shouted behind him, recovering fast, but they would not give up. Far away in the high towers of the city, someone was watching through a screen, a man with cold eyes and sharp armor. He smiled as he saw the soldier and the glowing girls fighting their way through. "Found you," he whispered. "The keys are mine." The lower streets were silent, far from the noise of the market. Neon signs flickered weakly, and the smell of burning fuel hung in the air. Rylan moved quickly through the shadows, carrying both sisters in his arms. They were light, too light, their glowing eyes half closed with exhaustion. He found a hidden shelter under an abandoned docking bay. Metal walls, broken crates, and the distant hum of ships filled the air. It was not safe, but it was hidden. For now it would have to do. Rylan set the girls down on a soft pile of old cloth. Their small bodies trembled. Sweat ran down their glowing skin. He knelt before them, his voice firm but gentle. "What happened out there? That light, that power, what are you?" The sisters exchanged a fearful glance. Lyra, the older one, bit her lip before speaking. "Our father told us never to say, but you saw it. We cannot hide anymore." Rylan leaned closer, his eyes sharp. "Then tell me. I need to know what I'm protecting." Lyra's voice was quiet but steady. "We are not just children. We are from an old line, a bloodline that began long before this city, before these hunters, before even humans came to the stars." Nira clutched her sister's hand, whispering, "We are the last." Rylan frowned. "The last of what?" Lyra looked up at him, her eyes glowing brighter. "The last of the Starborn." The word echoed in the room. Starborn. Rylan had heard whispers once, long ago in the war. Stories told in low voices by soldiers around the fire. A people who were not gods, not demons, but something in between. A race said to hold power older than the galaxy itself. Many dismissed the tales as myths. But some believed. "Starborn," Rylan repeated. His chest tightened. "I thought that was just a legend." Lyra shook her head. "It is real. We are proof." She lifted her hand, and faint blue symbols glowed across her skin, shining in the dim light. They pulsed like living fire. "Our blood carries the key to old machines, ships, and weapons left from the First Age," she said. "Things no one else can touch." "But we can," Rylan's eyes narrowed. The memory of the explosion in the tunnels, the shockwave in the street, it made sense now. The sisters were not just rare children. They were weapons, and that was why hunters came. "Your father knew," Rylan said slowly. Lyra's face darkened. "Yes, he knew. That is why he sold us. He was afraid. Afraid of what we might become. Afraid of what others would do to get us. He wanted to forget us. So he traded us for a drink." Her words cut deep, heavy with pain. Nira's voice was soft, trembling. "But you did not leave us." "You stayed." Rylan's chest tightened. He looked at their faces, so young yet carrying the weight of something ancient. He placed a hand on each of their shoulders. "I will not leave you. I made a promise." The girls leaned against him, finding comfort in his voice. For a moment the fear eased, but then a sound broke the silence, static, faint but sharp. A communicator. Rylan's head snapped toward a broken console in the corner. The old machine flickered to life, its screen glowing with interference. A shadow appeared, a figure in armor, face hidden under a black helm. The voice was deep, metallic, filled with authority. "Guardian of the children," it said. "I see you." Rylan's hand moved to his weapon. "Who are you?" "I am the one who will take what you guard," the voice replied. "You carry no treasure. You carry keys. Keys to power older than your kind. Give them to me and your death will be quick." The screen went dark. The sisters clung to Rylan, their glowing hands shaking. "Who was that?" Nira whispered. "Their master," Rylan said grimly. "The one sending hunters." He stood checking his weapon, his mind racing. If the girls were truly Starborn, then the entire galaxy would come. Armies, governments, warlords, all would want them. Not as children, not as lives, but as tools. He would not allow it. "Listen to me," Rylan said, crouching before them. "You are not tools. You are not weapons. You are children. And as long as I breathe, you will stay that way." Tears filled their glowing eyes. Lyra whispered, "Guardian." He pulled his cloak tighter around them. "Rest now. Tomorrow we move." The sisters lay back on the cloth, still trembling, but their breathing slowed. Soon they slept, their small bodies leaning against each other, glowing faintly in the dark. Rylan sat near the door, weapon ready, eyes fixed on the night. His thoughts were heavy. Starborn, he had not chosen this. He had only stepped into a bar and seen a man trade away 2 daughters for a drink. Yet fate had bound him to something far larger. The galaxy would come for them. He could feel it. And when it did, he would be ready. Because he was no longer only a soldier. He was their guardian. The hidden shelter did not last long. By morning, the hum of search drones filled the sky. Rylan knew they had to move. He packed his gear quickly, wrapped the sisters in his cloak, and led them through the lower streets. The city above was dangerous now. Posters glowed on digital boards, images of 2 glowing children with the words "Wanted Alive." Their faces were everywhere. Rylan cursed under his breath. The hunters had moved faster than he expected. He guided the girls into the underdocks where smugglers and thieves gathered. The air was heavy with smoke and fuel, the walls lined with stolen parts. "We need a ship," Rylan told himself. "Something fast. Something hidden." Then a voice called out, "Rylan?" He turned sharply, weapon raised. A man stepped from the shadows. It was Kale. Once Kale had fought beside him in the war. A fellow soldier, a friend. His face was rough, his hair gray, but his eyes still sharp with cunning. "Easy," Kyle said, raising his hands. "I'm not here to fight." Rylan lowered his weapon slowly. "Kale, what are you doing in this pit?" Kyle smirked. "Same as always. Surviving. Word is you're carrying something special. Something valuable." Rylan's eyes narrowed. "They are not for trade." From behind him, Lyra and Nira peeked out, their glowing eyes wide. Kale's gaze softened when he saw them. "Children?" He shook his head. "Stars above, Rylan. What trouble have you pulled yourself into now?" "Not trouble," Rylan said firmly. "Responsibility." Kale studied him for a long moment, then sighed. "All right, come. I know a way out. There's an old starship hidden in the docks. It's rough, but it'll fly. I'll help you." Rylan hesitated. Trust was a dangerous thing. But Kale had saved his life once long ago. Perhaps he would again. They followed Kale through the twisting passages of the underdocks. The ship he spoke of was old, scarred from battles, but its engines were intact. "This will do," Kale said, tapping the hull. "Get them inside. I'll prepare the launch codes." Rylan guided the sisters up the ramp. They touched the cold metal walls, eyes wide with wonder. For children who had lived in fear, even a broken starship felt like freedom. But something gnawed at Rylan's instincts. Kale moved too quickly. His hands shook slightly as he worked the console. "Kyle," Rylan said slowly, "why are you helping me?" Kale didn't look up. "Because you're my brother in arms, and because I want you alive." But before Rylan could respond, the air shifted. The sound of boots, heavy and sharp, echoed outside the dock. Hunters. Rylan spun toward Kale. His voice dropped like thunder. "What did you do?" Kale's face was pale, guilt flashing in his eyes. "I sent a signal. I had no choice, Rylan. They offered me freedom. Credits, a way out of this cursed life." Rylan's blood boiled. "You sold us out?" Kale stepped back, shame in his voice. "I'm sorry. I thought maybe they'd let the children live if I gave them up." Lyra's voice broke the silence. "Guardian?" Rylan raised his weapon, eyes locked on Kale. His voice was low and deadly. "Get behind me." The sisters ran, hiding in the corner of the ship. The hunters stormed in, mercenaries in black armor, weapons glowing red. Their leader's voice rang out. "Hand over the starborn, soldier." "Do this and you walk free." Rylan's jaw tightened. "You'll have to tear them from my dead hands." The first shots fired. The dock exploded in noise, bullets sparking, engines shaking. Rylan moved like a storm, every shot precise, every step shielding the girls. Kale ducked for cover, shouting, "Rylan, stop! You can't win against all of them." But Rylan did not stop. Then from the shadows, Kale made his choice. His hand hovered over his weapon. His eyes darted between Rylan and the hunters, and finally, he turned his gun on the hunters. "Go, Rylan!" Kale shouted. "Get them out!" His shots cut through the enemy lines. Hunters screamed, falling one by one. But there were too many. Kyle fought like a man with nothing left to lose. His last glance toward Rylan was full of regret. "Forgive me, old friend." A blast struck him in the chest. He fell hard, smoke rising from his armor. "Kyle!" Rylan roared, but there was no time. He grabbed the sisters, pulling them up the ship's ramp. Bullets ripped through the air, sparks raining down. Rylan slammed the door shut and threw himself into the cockpit. "Hold on," he shouted. Engines roared to life. The ship shook, metal groaning, but it lifted. Fire burst from the thrusters as it tore free of the dock. Hunters scrambled below, firing desperately, but the ship rose higher, breaking into the night sky. Inside, the sisters clung to him, trembling. Tears ran down their glowing cheeks. "Guardian?" Nira whispered. "Why did he help us if he betrayed us first?" Ryland's eyes were hard, but his voice was gentle. "Because sometimes even broken men can find their honor again." He looked out at the stars ahead. Behind them, the city burned with chaos. Ahead, the galaxy waited, filled with enemies and shadows. But he had chosen. No matter who betrayed him, no matter what hunted them, he would not fail the children. The ship cut through the dark, leaving the city behind. But a message followed, sent across the stars by their unseen enemy. "Bring me the daughters, Guardian, or worlds will burn." The ship drifted through the endless dark of space. Stars burned in the distance, cold and far away. Ryland sat in the cockpit, his hands steady on the controls. Behind him, Lyra and Nira slept side by side, their glowing skin faint in the dim light. He knew it would not last. The enemy's message echoed in his mind. "Bring me the daughters, or worlds will burn." Ryland had fought many battles. He had seen men betray, kingdoms fall, armies break, but never had the stakes been so heavy. 2 small lives in his care and a galaxy ready to tear itself apart to claim them. And then, it came. The sensors lit up red. A fleet. Dozens of warships, their black hulls shaped like blades, their weapons glowing bright. They filled the void ahead, blocking every path. At the center was the largest ship of all, a fortress among stars. From its dark bridge, the enemy waited. The voice came again, cold and commanding. "Guardian, hand them over. This is your last chance." Ryland looked back at the sisters. Their eyes had opened now, filled with fear. Lyra whispered, "Guardian, we don't want worlds to burn. Maybe we should go." Ryland shook his head. His voice was firm. "No, you are not tools. You are not keys. You are children. And I will not give you away, not now, not ever." The fleet's weapons charged. Lights flashed across the black sky. Ryland tightened his grip on the controls. "Hold on." The small ship dove forward. Beams of light cut through space, explosions shaking the hull. Ryland weaved between the blasts, moving like a shadow, every instinct sharp. "Guardian," Nira cried. "We can't outrun them all." Ryland's jaw tightened. "Then we fight." He flipped the ship, cannons firing. Explosions ripped through the enemy's front line. A small victory, but the fleet closed in tighter. Inside the ship, the sisters pressed their glowing hands together. Blue light spread across the walls, symbols glowing on every surface. The ship hummed with power it did not have before. Ryland glanced at them, eyes wide. "What are you doing?" Lyra's voice shook but stayed steady. "Helping. The ship listens to us. It was built long ago, for Starborn." The engines roared louder, brighter. The small craft moved faster, sharper, as if alive. Together, Guardian and daughters fought as one. The ship cut through enemy lines, its weapons firing with unnatural speed. Hunters screamed as their warships cracked open, burning into the void, but the enemy fortress still stood. A voice thundered across the comms. "Enough games. Face me, human." From the fortress, a massive cannon began to charge. Its glow filled the dark, bright as a star. One shot would tear them apart. Ryland's heart pounded. "Lyra, Nira, whatever power you carry, it has to be now." The sisters stood, holding each other's hands. Their eyes glowed brighter than ever. Symbols spun around them like living fire. Blue energy surged into the ship. Every screen lit up. Every weapon charged. Ryland aimed straight at the fortress. "Together, then. Let's end this." The enemy cannon fired. A beam of death screamed across the void. At the same moment, the sisters unleashed their power through the ship. A massive wave of blue light burst forward, meeting the cannon head-on. The two forces collided. Space shook, stars dimmed, and then the fortress cracked. The beam shattered. Fire spread across its hull as the great ship split in two. Silence followed. The fleet broke apart, scattering into the dark. The hunters were finished. Ryland slumped in his seat, his breath heavy. His hands shook, not from fear but from relief. Behind him, the sisters collapsed to their knees, weak but alive. Their glow dimmed, but their eyes still shone. "You did it," Ryland whispered. "You saved us all." Lyra shook her head. "No, we only stopped them for now. Others will come, always." Ryland stood kneeling before them. His voice was low, steady. Then let them come. We will face them together. You are not alone anymore. Nira reached out, her small hand touching his. Guardian, are we really yours now? Ryland's eyes softened. He pulled them both close, wrapping them in his arms. Yes, you are mine. Not by blood, but by choice. And choice is stronger. The girls leaned into him, tears glowing on their cheeks. For the first time in their short lives, they felt safe. Outside the ship, stars burned brighter, lighting the path ahead. The galaxy was wide, dangerous, and full of shadows, but the Guardian did not fear it. He had made a vow, and he would keep it.